2025 was a shaky year for grants. The dust is settling as we move into 2026, and 7 critical trends are becoming clear. These trends aren't hype. This is what I'm already seeing every day in real grant work. In this video, I break down these 7 trends and give you the tools and tips you need to survive and succeed with grants in 2026. Let's get into it. Trend number 1, AI in grant writing. AI is everywhere, whether you personally use it or not. Your employer, your healthcare provider, and your shopping apps are all using it. Grant writing is no exception, but let's see what AI can do and what it cannot do. AI is getting better about researching grant opportunities. You can take existing content and ask AI to help you answer questions in a new grant proposal. AI can help with grammar and readability. However, don't submit a proposal that's fully AI generated without adding your human story, which leads us to what AI cannot do. AI cannot capture your organization's unique voice. It doesn't understand nuanced community needs, and it cannot build authentic relationships with funders. What do I mean in these 3 points? Let's look at a fictional example for an answer. Let's say that you are the 3rd generation to run a bakery in a neighborhood in Philadelphia. Not only do you have great pride in running this bakery, but you want this to become a workforce development venture by giving youth in the area training in the bakery business. So your grant proposal shows unique voice because of the generational connection. But you also understand the needs of the community by providing a solid career opportunity for youth who live there. You might have used AI to find local business funders, but then you reach out to them and you discuss what you're looking to do, and they provide feedback on your approach. Side note, they can't promise they'll give you the grant, but you see what I'm getting at here. So I have a hybrid approach to AI. I use AI for research, outlining, editing, and data analysis. I rely on human expertise for storytelling, strategy, relationship building, and final writing. I have an AI for Grants playlist linked below if you want to take a deeper dive into how to write those prompts and use those links. Trend number 2, federal funding makeover. If you followed grant chatter in 2025, you know federal grants changed fast. Executive orders, DOGE processes, lawsuits, and Supreme Court decisions all played a role. From all of that, I see 3 federal grant trends coming for 2026: reallocation, consolidation, and collaboration. For example, some Department of Education workforce grants are now being reallocated to the Department of Labor. Within the Department of Labor, multiple grants are being consolidated into one. The acronym for that new grant, by the way, is MASSA, or Make America Skilled Again, and billions in grant dollars are expected to flow through it. And yes, I'm watching for details so I can share them with you in future videos. Also, the Departments of Education and Labor are collaborating to develop brand new workforce Pell Grants for students who want to get certifications in IT, healthcare, and skilled trades. That's all 3 trends in only 2 federal agencies, and there are 15 agencies total. However, you do not have to follow all 15 agencies to get the latest on their grants. Here's how this works for you in most cases. Most of these federal grant dollars flow to the states, then you apply at the state level. When the state agencies have their grants organized, they'll offer workshops, which are always free and most often virtual. Attend them. Don't rely on the printed guidelines alone. Ask questions. Connect with the agency staff. Final thought on this trend: when government grant making changes, the effects don't stop there. Trend number 3, private and corporate funders absorb government shock. Lots of organizations lost government funding in 2025. What did they do about that? One response was to pivot, often directly into private foundation and corporate grants, which are not government supported. Private funders have always received more proposals than they can support, but the number of us applying for grants has spiked with the addition of applicants that used to receive federal funding. This means that strong proposals can be rejected just because of this increase in requests. But private funders have more options for you. Private foundations have grants, yes, but many foundations, from your local community foundation to immense institutions like Fidelity Charitable, have donor-advised funds, otherwise known as DAFs. You don't apply as you would with a grant. It's about building relationships. I have a video about the process linked below. In the case of corporations, you have two options in addition to grants that might actually be more lucrative: sponsorships and volunteer programs. Corporations like sponsorships because there is a marketing component. Corporations also support their employees volunteering, either for a day or in long-term roles. The host then receives a check that is often more than would have been awarded in a grant. I think I'm due to create a new video all about corporate funding. Let me know in the comments if you'd like to see that. But even with all these additional funding options, private funders cannot replace the billions lost in government funding. They're just managing the overflow, which leads to the next trend. Trend number 4, sector-specific competition. Understand that your small business or nonprofit faces a lot of competition for grant funds within your own sector. A youth-serving nonprofit may face dozens of competitors in the metro area. There are tens of thousands of youth-serving nonprofits across the country. A grant for women-owned startups may attract thousands of applications. Understand that there are 12 million women-owned businesses across the country. What's the secret to gaining ground here? It's not just about writing well, though that is important. 2 things. First and foremost, you need to make sure that the mission of the grant funder you're applying to is the best match with your mission. Remember the bakery in Philadelphia? I like its project as an example of a strong match. The grant funder and the bakery are in the same community. The bakery supports one of the grant funder's key goals, and the bakery owner and the funder have met to review the project and what the grant requires. But what if you're with one of those tens of thousands of youth-serving nonprofits? Certainly, they should make sure that their mission aligns with the grant funder's mission. But there is a second option. It takes a bit of work, but it can pay off in the long run, and grant funders like to see it. What is this great thing? In one word, collaboration. Find another organization that does something that will benefit the people you serve, but they do it better than you. Here's an example we worked on just this month at my day job. We have programs for teens and would like to add an arts component. But we are not an arts organization, and trying to make that happen alone would be expensive to hire artists and buy supplies. Instead, we reached out to a local arts center that offers classes to the public. They happen to have a traveling arts program that does what we want at our location and for much less than we would have to pay if we did it all ourselves. The grant funder then appreciates the community resources are not being duplicated. That's important. And the youth being served gain a new skill taught by dedicated professionals. Those are 2 big pro tips, but keep watching because the next 3 trends are key to rising above this tough competition for grants. Trend number 5, digital infrastructure is the baseline. In 2026, most of the time, funders will expect your business or nonprofit to have these digital assets: a functional website, a social media presence, basic data for tracking reports. Funders will most often require you to use their online grant portals to submit proposals and reports, access to video conference technology to attend virtual grantee meetings, and sometimes they'll require you to use a specific software program to manage data for reporting. This doesn't have to mean spending money on expensive systems or that your website is overly complex or that your business or nonprofit are trending on social media. It means you post consistently and that your content relates to your mission. It means that your website is current and usable. You're often asked to place these links in grant proposals, and the grant funder's staff will likely study them. If the grant funder is hosting a virtual grantee meeting, you don't have to pay for that access. And if they require specific software for data management, in my experience, you can add that cost to the grant budget. Here are 2 resources if you need to build up these systems. For nonprofits, try something like TechSoup, which connects you to discounts on technology and offers classes on how to use them. They're not sponsoring the video, I'm just aware of the program. For small businesses, most of the grant programs I've covered for some time on Grant Chatter have these trainings available at no cost. Check my small business grant playlist, link below. Why do grant funders want you to have this digital infrastructure in place? Specifically to address trend number 6, proof over potential. I think this is actually the most important trend. Grant funders are prioritizing proof over potential. Good ideas matter, but evidence matters more, especially as competition increases. For nonprofits, that means outcomes and results. Not just how many attended your program, but what was the positive impact on them. Let's look at the teen program again. Maybe the arts program isn't just an after-school activity. It can be part of a career exploration series. The guest artists not only show how to complete an artwork, but talk about the reality of being an artist. Our career series was already developed. Teens have already shared what they're looking for in career information. We'll ask them again after these programs whether they think they have the information they need to make decisions about their future. Funders will want to know those results. For small businesses, traction and milestones matter. Your baseline might be your business plan or your marketing plan. Let's refer once again to the example of the bakery. The grant will require tracking how many youth completed their training in the bakery business and how well the new employees do, and for how long. Progress builds trust. Can you do what you say? So you take this to heart, you're building these systems and you're submitting strong proposals for credible programs. And then this happens. Trend number 7, the pressure to apply for more grants. Where is this pressure coming from? Leadership, board members, investors, yourself? In 2026, that pressure can come from sudden funding gaps or the belief that grants are easier than fundraising. The reality, grants aren't easier. They're just different. Submitting more proposals does not automatically mean more success. Understand that there are trade-offs when submitting grant proposals that are written hastily without taking into consideration any of the trends we've covered in this video. So what do you do next? Overall, here's what you need to know to win grants in 2026. You know that grants are more strategic, but still very winnable. It is important to prove that your project aligns with the funder's mission as well as your own. Digital resources help you manage your public presence and internal record keeping because you have to prove to grant funders that your small business or nonprofit has capacity and credibility. Next, let's see what these grant proposals look like with my Grants 101 video, where I give you a thorough walkthrough of how grants work and what they pay for. Together, these two videos will give you the tools and tips you need to survive and succeed with grants in 2026. I'm Tiffany. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.